Hello, this is Tammy Morrison of Unleashing Your True Self. Oops, sorry about that. This is Tammy Morrison of Unleashing Your True Self, and I'm coming on here to do my podcast straight out of Savannah, talking with Tammy with my guest, Andrea Meller. And Andrea is an Akashic Records practitioner, an intuitive development teacher, and also a clarity coach. And she's coming on here to just discuss a little bit about what she does, who she is, and how she came to be where she's from. And we're talking to the planet right now. So I am truly excited. I'm waiting for her to come on, and I am excited about this show. So I'm going to share this out into the community. We started on Zoom and had some difficulties, some technical difficulties. I don't know what that's about, but I want to absolutely check with them and see how we can do this. Okay.
Well, you
Hi,
are now.
Andrea. How are you?
I'm well. We had a hiccup,
Yes, we did.
but now we're back.
I said technical difficulties for sure. And I was like, you know what?
Yes,
Our message must be, ready to get out to the world because the technical difficulties have been real. But I'm not playing.
they,
I'm,
right?
yeah, I'm not playing. I'm like, no, we're going to do this thing. So, Andrea, tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's start this thing again.
Well, let's try. Yeah, second time, two time. Well, let's make this second time's the charm, right? Not third time. So, as you said, I'm an Akashic Records practitioner and an intuitive development teacher and a clarity coach. So, I do a lot of different things, which is not surprising because I totally have ADHD.
Right, right, right.
So, I'm multi-passionate,
That's all.
um, as many of us entrepreneurs are. And so, but my mission is to really you know, help women connect to their intuition so that they have clarity in their lives.
Yes,
And right, because we all need a little bit of clarity.
absolutely, absolutely.
And I do like, okay, so for the longest time, I felt like I wasn't living in my purpose. I was a teacher before. I think you know that about me as a special education teacher for like 16 years, many, many years. So I was teaching, and when I left, I had this existential crisis that I felt like I wasn't living in my purpose and I didn't know what to do. And I've been intuitive for like 20 years. And so I just started reading tarot cards for people.
Okay.
And I love doing it. I love this work so much. It's such an honor and a privilege. And it really does light me up as much as I was lit up in the classroom.
Oh,
And that for me is a blessing.
it is.
It's like you have background in the medical field, so it's like you have that multi-passion.
Right.
You have those areas that like really light you up,
Hmm.
and it's hard to step away from that.
Right.
And so when I felt like I was not living in my purpose for a while, like I would go into these depressive states where I would be like, am I doing enough?
Right.
Am I changing the world?
Right.
Is this real? Am I really impacting people by like reading their cards and doing these things? And then I went through a dark night of the soul this last
Hmm.
year, and I got 100% absolutely yes. You're on purpose.
Yes.
You're helping
Hmm.
people. You're giving them insight and magic that they might not otherwise have in their lives.
Hmm.
And then it clicked in for me when I started teaching intuitive development that what I'm doing is helping people connect to their divine
Right.
purpose.
Right.
And that in and of itself is when we're living in our purpose and when more of us are living in our purpose, we're totally raising the vibration on this planet.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're we're coming from such a different place. It's coming from the heart.
Right. So I want to say hi to Anastasia and hello to Nicole who are watching us. So if someone were watching us right now and they wanted to know how you made that transition, how did you transition from teaching to doing what you do now?
Yeah, well, it wasn't easy. So I'm a stubborn one.
Right, right.
And spirit had to put a near death experience in my life for me to get to where I needed to be. And I'm hoping people aren't as stubborn as me.
Right.
But if you are, spirit will guide you to the place we're always divinely guided to where we need to be and where we're most needed
Mm-hmm.
on the planet. So for me, in childbirth, when I had our third baby, our third son, our second son, but third child, I almost didn't make it, and he almost didn't make it. And so it was very scary, and it also woke me up. I was completely present to the fact that I might not be here much longer. Who knows?
Right, right, right.
Like, when your time is up, it's up, and in this physical body anyway, right?
Exactly.
So I'm not going to come back as Andrea Meller.
Well, I mean, you might want to put that order in.
Well, hot damn, if I can come back twice as myself.
I know, right? Do it better,
That is some
improve on
magic. It's true. It's true.
it. Oh my goodness.
Up level where make some different choices, maybe.
Exactly, exactly. Just like, okay, fuck hindsight. Just go ahead and do it like you see it now, and this way you don't have to go through all that stuff that you went through before, right?
Wouldn't that be an interesting? I don't know if I would do it any different. I mean,
Uh,
maybe I would in
I
some
would.
ways, but such
I got a couple
such a
things.
butterfly effect.
Yeah, yeah. I got a couple things I would,
It's funny because,
you know. But then the other
well, it's
part
like what
is, the experiences that we have are what makes us who we are, right?
exactly. I was gonna say, like, what is it that you would do differently if you could?
I would marry my husband that I'm married to now first.
Yes. It's funny that you say that because my husband said about 5 years ago, or maybe a little bit more, I said, "Do you have any regrets in your life?" And he said, "Only one, and that was that I didn't meet you sooner."
Exactly.
Isn't that the sweetest thing?
Exactly. I said
But it's
I would have
true.
married him first, and that way, you know, all that other stuff wouldn't have happened.
But all that other stuff probably made you stronger.
You're right about that. You're so right. So now, when you work with clients, what is the number one thing that you see? Because generally, you and I, we work with the same type of people, women in transition, and help them to get over and move to the place they need to go to and all this type of stuff. So when you work with your clients, what is the number one prevailing theme, I guess, what I'm asking for that you see in all of them?
Yeah, I think most of the time it's self-doubt and confidence, not necessarily a lack of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
but just where confidence needs some fine-tuning,
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
where it's there in certain areas, but maybe there's like a lack of trust, and you probably see similar things
Oh yeah.
in the people that you work with too, but that those seem to be the really big themes that come up, and those are things that are uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and they're things that we're not always willing to admit. We're not always willing to show up and say that we have a lack in those areas because it's uncomfortable, and we see our you know oftentimes we see ourselves as powerful beings, but inside sometimes that tiger, I'm looking at your tiger back there,
Yes.
can be muted. It can be covered up with some fear. And I think that when we're connecting to our intuition, sometimes that can cloud those things can cloud our intuition. And so when I'm helping people unravel that and gain clarity and start to listen to those inner voices, so much stuff starts to get shoveled out, right?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Hi, Angel. How you doing? Thank you for joining us, Erica. Also, it was something that you said. Oh, what I want to do is I want you to explain the Akashic records because a lot of people
Oh,
don't
yeah.
really know, what that is and what that entails, and you know, just kind of give us a breakdown of what it is and how you practice.
For sure. So I like to think of it kind of in two different ways. Like a soul fingerprint,
Okay.
because it's unique to us, but the records in and of like our Akashic records are like our soul's fingerprint.
Okay.
But the whole hall of Akashic records is really like a library or like a supercomputer, um, where all of the information, thoughts, actions, everything that's happened since the beginning of time
Mm-hmm.
is stored in the records. So it's an energetic storage place.
Okay.
So it's kind of like going into public storage.
Okay.
You're walking into that lot and and everybody's unit's locked. I can't get into your records without your permission. So it is like walking into a store, like if you visually want to think of it, because computers are still a little abstract,
Mm-hmm.
it's like walking into your local public storage,
Or above, right?
lot. And there's all these containers and they hold all this stuff, but you can't access them
Okay.
until someone gives you permission. You can access your own at any given time.
Okay.
um, but it really is a place where you can access past life, you can do past life exploration. What I do mainly is I future pace and I look at the present. I You can do healing in the Akashic records. I mean, there are so many layers. There are things about the Akashic records that I haven't even tapped into,
Mm-hmm.
because it really works with the vibration of your energy. So the person reading the records is going to come from their perspective or like their gift through the records.
Okay.
So even though we can all access them, the ways in which we use them as a tool, and you'll notice through different practitioners, is different.
Mm-hmm.
So some people like to hang out in past life exploration and do more soul work, soul alignment, or things that kind of show up in the like past lives, or like
Mm-hmm.
from your origin, like where your soul was created.
Right.
um, and so it's definitely very powerful. And the way that I do my readings is we look at what is happening for you right now, and if it makes sense, if some of that past life stuff is coming up very like in a big way in your life, and there's some things that you need to clear, then my guides, your guides, kind of guide us there. But a lot of the time it's really future paced in terms of like how can I be best supported in this situation.
Okay. Gotcha.
And so yeah, so I like to focus on co-creating
Okay.
and like empowering people to do the work that will help them get to where they want to go. So that's what I love doing. And some of that is healing in that space. Some
Okay.
of that, like we, have to clear some things or heal some things. Um, my guides and the records always love to give me questions to ask people.
Okay. So you have like a question and answer session with the people, as you're
Yeah,
guiding.
so I do. And I get like a lot of stuff that makes people like kind of think really deeply, and in ways that maybe is challenging sometimes.
Okay.
So it is it it is like you're not playing total passenger. Like when you show up to a reading with me, there is a level of like you're gonna think.
Okay. Gotcha.
There's
Gotcha.
gonna be
Gotcha. So when you started this journey, I want to talk about that for a minute. when you started this journey, did you take classes or did you um, just get it all from spirit, or what did you do in order to understand your gifts?
Yeah, so when I was 19, my first boyfriend, he passed away. And I wasn't, we weren't dating at the time, but it was very devastating for me because we were very close. And so he and I just had like this connection, like a soul connection.
Mm-hmm.
And it, it was hard for me. It was very difficult. And so I'd always kind of had intuitive abilities as a kid, even, but I didn't know what they were. And I definitely wasn't really tuned into them. It just stuff happened. And
Mm-hmm.
I had like out of body experiences and things like that, where it was like, I'm confused. No one understands what I'm talking about. I'm just not going to talk about
Gotcha.
it. So flash forward to when I was 19 and he passed away, I kind of went into like this existential crisis,
Mm-hmm.
and it was traumatic. And I feel like sometimes those experiences really awaken some of our gifts and without us knowing and really like trying.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened. And I started to hear him and I thought I was going crazy.
Okay.
I thought I was legitimately like was on the border of going to a psychiatrist to have myself checked out.
Gotcha.
And luckily, I was at the time in college and I had people who were kind of like in, doing like reading tarot cards and things like that. And I bought my first deck of tarot and I was like exploring that and that got into a conversation and I was telling some like a new friend about it and they said, "Oh my gosh, like that's mediumship." And I was like, "Well, what the fuck is that?"
Right. Right.
I didn't ask for this. And I just went to the library and I took out any and every book I could and I read for about 5 years. I slowly started to stop hanging out with people in my life. Like there was not right away, but there was a period of my early 20s for 2 years that I didn't hang out with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in my house and I read books on spiritual development.
Okay.
And I went to work and I went to school and I raised my son and that's what I did. Um, and it was another one of those dark nights of the soul that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And again, my gifts then up leveled.
Yeah.
Hey, Jill.
I was gonna say,
um,
and Erica said she loves the Akashic records. It's so healing.
Me too. Me too.
Yes. So when so
So it's,
so when you go through those
yeah, I was
dark
gonna
nights,
say it's kind of funny when stuff shows up like that.
right? So when you go through those dark nights, do you feel like that amplifies the gifts that you have inside of you?
I do. It's not something that I ever wish upon myself
No.
because whoever wants to be in
No.
pain.
Oh no.
But but it is I noticed that when they happen, and I just went through one again, right? This last year, I went through another dark night,
Right?
and again grew through my gifts. Like my gifts expanded exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think a lot it does come out of that, but it doesn't have to. And I have when I haven't been in dark nights, I still have been working toward developing and growing and learning. And that's where it's in more of a controlled environment, where I'll take a class or I'll go to a meditation or I'll do a retreat or something like that where I um, kind of am consciously working
Okay, and that
on myself.
that was actually a question that I was gonna ask. I was going to ask you, did you think that it required us to go through these dark nights? Because I've read different books, and some say yes, some say no. Some, I mean, everybody has opinions on it. You know.
I don't think it necessarily requires us to. I think that just in life in general, like we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no avoiding it. there's never like you just can't avoid pain in your life. Like to live is, there are these cycles of, I don't want to say suffering, because I think suffering, we have choice in whether we choose to suffer
Yes.
through the pain. So I think that there's opportunities, learning opportunities that cycle around for us where, they're not pleasurable.
Right, 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 right.
Um, and sometimes our intuition actually takes us to those places.
Hmm.
And that's like one of those things where you're like, why would it do that?
Exactly.
um, but it is in the period of time when we're growing, it doesn't feel like it's for our greatest good, but when we come out of it, sometimes uh it is, we see that it was, in hindsight, we see, okay, like you said about your marriage, right? Like, okay, and certain things like me failing through my business last year
Right.
sucked, but
But you learn. So
I
now,
learned a lot.
yes. Exactly. And you're able to learn, about yourself. You're able to learn about your gifts. You just learn. And I think, when you go through those periods of time, you learn definitively is the word I'm going to use.
Yeah,
It's like, okay,
exactly.
all right, I got this. I'm good. Don't bring me no more.
It's true. Don't break me no more. That's it. I have said that so many times in my life, like
I know, and
this summer especially.
Anastasia says, plus some of us are really stubborn. LOL. So got to learn through the dark nights. And I think that's so
Absolutely.
true.
It is. I think the more stubborn you are, sometimes the more shit they shovel at you.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I had somebody laughing the other day, and I said, I said I refuse to give up. I said I just won't quit. I said, and so I just have to deal with probably more things than a lot of people because I'm not going to
Yeah,
give up. It's not in my DNA. It's not in my makeup. You know, Fail
exactly.
through, but keep going.
Exactly. I mean, especially when you're in your purpose
Yeah.
and you're providing amazing support for people, which I know you are.
Right.
So and I am too, and I have that stance where it is like, I'll fail through this.
Mm-hmm.
You can knock me down as many times as you want, but I'm still gonna get back up.
Yeah, you got that Rocky thing going on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that about you too.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite series, right?
Me too. I love, there's a speech that he did, and you know this speech, where he talks about, he's talking to his son, and he says, you're not a quitter, and like, I don't know, I can't even remember what he said because I'm terrible at that, but he's like, and that ain't you. And every time I watch that, I'm like, yeah,
Look, that's right.
I'm never gonna give up.
Exactly. Never give up. Never quit. Never cave in. Exactly.
Goonies never say die.
Exactly. Right. It's like it's like everything comes at you and you're like, you know what? I need to shut this down. I need to do something different. But you can't because you know
No,
that what you're doing is serving the greater good. And you know that, you're here to help and heal the planet.
it's
Don't you feel
true.
that way?
It's I do. I really do, because I think that, like, when we are in that divine purpose and we're living in our truth, right? And your page is unleashing your truth, right?
Yep, unleashing your true
And
self.
your group, yeah, live your true self.
Mhm.
And when we're living in that truth, there is no denying it.
Right.
You can try to run, it will find you.
But you can't hide. You can
Can't
run, but
hide.
you can't hide. I love that.
I mean, I've been in places like in my life where I was like, I'm gonna give up. Like, I throw in the towel, I am done.
Yeah.
And spirit will hand me something that is, I have to be show up for every time.
Exactly. So now I was listening to you, and the question that I have that I know so many people are interested in the answer. So when you deal with um, that dark night or the depression, how do you handle that for yourself?
Yeah, that is, and this is where the money is, right? Because when we're in these places, it is dark.
Mhm.
Like it, I'm no denying it. There are things I would say the number one thing for me is surrounding myself with people who love me
Mhm.
and people who want me to win as much as I want me to win or more.
Right.
And so I don't, in those periods of time, I will not entertain people who are not in that camp. And if it takes me being with one person, and if that one person is myself,
Right.
then that's then that's where I go. The beauty about where I am now in my life is I have so much support on the other side.
Yes.
So I have so much spirit
Yeah.
guidance that I can tap into.
Mhm.
That's different than where I was 20 years ago or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't have as much of that support. I wasn't as tuned in or tapped in to knowing that I could ask um, for support and for guidance. And so, I would say my number one is people. Number two is spirit, universe, God, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And three is to have something when you feel at your best. That is write that down. Write it down
Right.
so that when you're feeling at your worst, you can go back and look at that message. So what I will do is when I'm feeling at my best, I'll write myself something in my phone or something on paper, it doesn't matter where it is, that I can go back and read.
Okay.
And I can go back and know that these are my words. I said this to myself. This is truth.
Right. You know it.
um and I can always come back to that truth.
That.
So I think there's those are my top three for like when you're, because those places we have to shine the light in the
Yes.
darkness. And we're not always able to be our own coach when we're in that darkness. We're not always able to be the one to get us off the ropes. Sometimes we need Mick.
Yes.
We need the encouragement.
Yes. So in that case, you reach out to other people that you know are cheerleaders for you.
I do. I'm very fortunate and very blessed to have that support
Mhm.
system. Um, and I know there are people who struggle with that. And I
Yes.
think that, you know, um, there are I can be that person for people because I've been there
Right.
and I have had people reach out to me and say, and not clients, it's not everything is about being my client.
Right.
Um, I've had people say, hey, you know what, you're really inspirational and I really need someone to talk to right now.
Right.
And I encourage people to do that because I've been there. I've been in those places where it is, you just need to touch base with someone.
Yes.
You just need someone to like a touchstone. And it's not like you're looking for them to pick you up and carry you all along the way. You're just looking for someone to shine the light in your face so that you can start to do that for yourself
Yes.
and start to recognize that you're valuable
Yes.
because sometimes in those dark places that's not always apparent.
Right. Because you because it's almost like you're into yourself and you
You
can't
do.
see
The more,
else
yeah,
around you. And you just
exactly.
you just need somebody just to hold a torch for just a minute.
For
Hmm.
just a minute,
Yeah.
just so you can breathe, right?
Exactly.
Like sometimes it's just like, okay, hold me up for just a second.
Right.
When I would when I've been pregnant and very heavily pregnant, I used to have my husband hold my belly
Mm-hmm.
for just a minute because when you're and people who've carried children in your body, you know how uncomfortable it is.
Oh,
And
yes.
you can't take it off.
No.
There's no relief from it. And it's a funny metaphor or comparison and but really it's like you can't just take it off your body. And people who are in that dark night, you can't just take it away.
Right.
Like you can't just take it off yourself.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. Um, so but people can help you.
Right.
And for that moment, right, that my husband would hold my stomach and hold the muscle, right? And so that I felt like I was in my body normally.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the pressure was relieved.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what we can do for people when they need it the most.
Yeah, like a pressure relief valve. Yes,
Exactly.
yes. Because it's and it's so funny how there are times when you're in that place and people will say stuff to you like, "Well, just shake it off," and
Yeah.
that's not what you need at that moment.
No.
It's like just shake it off. Well, if I could shake it off, don't you think I would have done that by now? Duh. You're
Exactly.
like, no, I
Exactly.
no.
There's no wart remover for
Right.
it.
Right. You can just throw something on it and ding, there it is, it's off. Throw some toothpaste on your pimple and ding, it's off. None of that.
Exactly.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it
It's
up. I want you to let the people know where they can find you, and if you have
sure.
a freebie that you want to give, you can pop it in the comments, or let them know what it is that you're going to be provided, and then offer whatever service that you want to offer to the people so that they can participate in your services.
Awesome. So I will put my page link below. And on my page, Fluid Coaching, Intuitive, gosh, I can't even say it now. Fluid Intuitive Coaching with Andrea Meller, which I've tried to change, and Facebook has blocked me from changing
Oh,
it.
wow. Wow.
Um, But anyway, so on my page on Mondays, I go live with messages from the Akashic Records, and that is free. So people can come and check out what I do and kind of get a feel for me and see if my flavor is works with you. And so you can come and check that out. I do it on Monday mornings, though. It seems like night times are probably when people are more available.
Right.
So that the time might change, but it's on Mondays.
Okay.
And I always put out like a little ping to say when it will be. So that's some ways that people, or a way that people can check out what I do. And then what I have going on that's a paid offer is my intuitive development series. It's a mentorship series. And the first um, part of the series is Awakening from Within. And it's a mentorship on tapping into your intuitive abilities. And this isn't necessarily for people who want to be psychic, but it's for people who want to be more in tune with themselves.
Yes.
So, and their intuition. And we're going to talk about guides and how you can tune into it, but a lot of trusting of self,
Yes.
um, different tools and techniques that you can use, stuff that I talk about the clairs, the different clairs, because we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily just for people who want to have a business to do this for their business. It's really about tapping into, like fully tapping into your intuition
Right.
and using that to make decisions in your life. So that's what I have going on.
Okay, you're gonna drop the link in
And
the comments.
I will drop all of these things in the comments. I'll drop my page, and then yeah, and that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I am so excited that you decided to join me. I have been really having a good time with these interviews. It's been so much fun for me, and I know for others watching as well. We have just shared so much information and It's almost like we broke bread. Oh,
Right?
thank you, Anita, for
I
watching.
I know. I feel like, well, I have to say that your interview was one of the best interviews I've ever had.
Awesome.
So, it's you have like just a great way of being able to you ask really great questions,
Awesome. Thank
and
you.
I'm sure the viewers would agree. So you get right to the heart of it. I love that. I love you. You're amazing. For those of you who know me but don't know Tammi, Tammi is check her out because we all do different things, and even when we do the same things, we do them in a different way.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes. Because I was listening to
um,
you and I was like, she deals with women in transition, so do I. That is exactly, what we do because it's what we know. It's what we've
exactly,
been through and it's how we can help women to move to that place that they're trying to get to listen to their intuition, to make those changes that they need to make in their life and that they're afraid of, that they're overwhelmed, they're just having all these issues trying to make these changes. And I don't know if you realize, well, I know you do. We change every decade. Every
yes, we
decade
do.
women transform. It's like we transition, and I'm getting
Yes,
ready to turn another decade, so I'm already
exactly.
transitioning.
And I just turned a
Right?
decade.
You turned a decade, and I'm turning a decade day after tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, I'm excited because I know that greater things are happening and that transition is here. Yeah. So
Exactly,
So
exactly.
I have so enjoyed this interview. I've enjoyed this time that I've spent with you. And I am so grateful for everything that is happening in your business and the places where God has taken you and, the doors that are opening for you because I see so much for you with your Akashic Records practicing and your clarity coaching and also your intuitive development. I don't know about you, but I almost see like a full-fledged mentorship for you. I
Yes.
see.
That is in the works.
Okay, see, and I didn't even know that.
There are so many things. So, and I know we're wrapping up, so I will keep it brief, but Spirit just gave me a bunch of stuff because I was gonna get a job and they said no. And then I said, okay. And then the next day I downloaded so much stuff that I haven't even, that Anita actually picked up on. So Anita, if you're still watching,
Right?
but yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to come for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up.
You know what? I'm so excited for you because even when we first met, I felt such a connection to you. Yeah.
Me
And
too.
it's funny because we've never met in person.
No, but I feel you. Like I really do. There's so many people that I've met this way. Anastasia on here, like we've never met in person. She's my soul sister.
Right.
There's so many people who I have that connection with, and I'm sure you do too. And it's a beautiful
It
thing
is.
that we're finding one
It
another.
is. And that's why I say, right now we're speaking to the planet. We are speaking
Yes.
to the planet. We're not leaving anybody out. We're not, because I said America and the United States is what I was thinking. But my husband reminded me, he said, baby, it's the planet. We're
Yes.
not just speaking to America, we're speaking to South Africa, we're speaking to England, we're speaking to Brazil, we're speaking to Japan, we're speaking to Canada, we're speaking to Australia, all of our beautiful sisters all over the planet.
Yes.
So I'm
I got them chills going.
right. Well, we're going to pop on off here, but I'm just so grateful for my guest, Andrea Meller. She is a beautiful soul, and if you have not checked her out, check her out. She left her details in the comments. You can go on. She'll give you the most amazing reading when she does on Mondays. I've been privileged to have caught her once or twice, and she is dead on the spot. She's so on it till I'm like, wow, was she like reading my journal or no, she was reading my records. So,
It's like your journal, though.
right? So definitely try to catch her and try to see what she's got going on so that if you are drawn to work with her, you can work with her. But otherwise, we're going to wrap this thing up. I want to thank you so much for watching. My name is Tammi Morrison of Unleashing Your True Self, and this is Andrea Meller of Fluid
Intuitive coaching.
Intuitive Coaching. I wanted to get that right. So, so thank you guys, and you that catch the replay, put replay so that I can thank you for watching. So we're gonna have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday night. You guys that are on the East Coast, it's late. Good night. And those of us on the
Very.
West Coast that have to get up early and go to work like me, late. Good night. Good night, Andrea.
Good night, Tammy. Thank you so
All
much.
righty.